Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 23rd edition of Today in the World of Wrestling. Today we are going to be covering the episode of WWE Smackdown Live that aired on August 9th, 2016. And this show was probably better than Raw this week, but still had some flaws and a lot to live up to.
Completely agree with that assessment.
So we start things off. Alberto Del Rio challenges Randy Orton, tells him he's going to break his arm. And of course, this leads to a match between the two of them later on in the night that actually ends in a disqualification when Del Rio gets a chair, starts wailing away on Orton's arm, and then even with a bad arm, Orton still manages to hit the RKO out of nowhere to basically just kind of get Del Rio to back the hell off.
The name Del Bitchbag has never been more apropos.
You're not even wrong, my friend. So, as far as what actually opened SmackDown in the ring, in the arena that the fans could see, Bray Wyatt comes out, says that he didn't lose last week, that he was a victim because Dolph Ziggler got desperate and used the turnbuckle, and that's the last thing Bray remembers. Dean Ambrose comes out and tells Bray to stop whining, basically, and then Bray challenges Dean, tells him, "Hey man, if you want some, come on in here in the ring and let's see what happens." And Dean's just like, "No, I'm not stupid. I know that you and your big lug of a family member over there, Eric Rowan, are gonna beat me up 2-on-1, so I'm not gonna do that." And then Dolph Ziggler comes out and we get a 2-on-2 scuffle. Bray actually does stand tall. He makes Dolph Ziggler, who was aiming for him, kick Dean Ambrose, who who was holding in Sister Abigail position at the time, and then kind of moved him over so that Dolph kicked Dean. Dean backstage then confronted Ziggler about trying to help him, and the super kick to the face, which we know was Bray Wyatt's fault, but Dean thinks it was on purpose. They're arguing, and the next thing you know, Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan show up and put them together as a tag team in a tag team main event tonight against Wyatt and Rowan.
This was a smart sequence of segments that capitalized on the ending of last week's show, so I approved of this.
We will talk about that match very last because that was the main event tonight. Renee Young, she had two of these sort of sit-down segments tonight. The first one was, and actually not even just the first one, both of them were pretty pointless. The first one, she was supposed to interview Miz and Maurice, but they were more obsessed with each other and didn't really give her much of an interview. She kind of threw us over to an Apollo Crews video package, which was, I mean, it was decent, but it's Apollo Crews and he's not overly interesting anyway. So when we came back from that, Miz and Maurice were on the table, staring into each other's eyes, and they end up making out, and Renee Young gets uncomfortable and throws it back to commentary.
Still loving Mrs. Heel work.
Her second segment was really simple. She literally just talks about matches that we're going to be getting going into SummerSlam, and then throw this over to a video package hyping up AJ Styles and John Cena's feud.
Well done video package, but it was more just about promotion for SummerSlam rather than the actual present product being SmackDown.
Yeah. Speaking of The Miz, actually, we can go back to that. The Miz had a weird segment where he was trying to talk to Scooby-Doo, and Scooby locked him in the mystery machine and then stole his car, I guess, which is an Audi.
Yeah, I still hate Scooby-Doo, but this is at least a lot better than the Golden Truth Scooby-Doo segment last night.
It was until The Miz went full ham and said, "Scooby-Doo, where are you?" when that made literally no sense because Scooby was literally right in his eyesight.
Yeah, I know.
Baron Corbin beat the shit out of Kalisto, so that was fun.
This was absolutely hilarious.
We had a really interesting development in the Heath Slater Rhino thing tonight. They actually had their match, but before the match started, Heath Slater he went up to Rhino. He's like, "Hey man, can you help me out tonight? You don't really have anything to lose. I have everything to gain. I've got two kids at home." And then Rhino's talking to him like, "Oh man, well, I've got my constituents that I need to impress." And he's just like, "Come on, man, help me out with my four kids." And Rhino's just like, "Wait, four? I thought you had two." And he's like, "No, it's four. I need some help, man. I bought a pool." And Rhino's just like, "What kind of pool? Is it an in-ground pool or an above-ground pool?" And he's just like, "I bought a very nice above-ground pool." John, is it just me, or is Heath Slater sort of channeling his inner Danny McBride here in Eastbound and Down?
I definitely feel like he is, yeah.
I'm just waiting for him to be like, "You're fucking out." So they had their match. Heath almost won thanks to using the ropes as for leverage on a pin, but the ref caught him and scolded him, and Heath was all angry, but then he turns around into a gore and loses, and then he goes back to Brian and Shane's office, who were talking about how Heath Slater really embodies the SmackDown fighting spirit. We should give him a contract anyway. And Slater gets all angry and I'm better than this. You guys are losers. And he storms out. And then they're just like, well, I guess we're not going to really offer this contract to him like we were planning.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think Heath is one of the more interesting storylines going right now, and that really says something.
That said, though, I would argue that the most interesting story going on right now is actually with the women, and specifically with one very much hated woman, Eva Marie.
Yes, I love what they're doing with her.
Becky Lynch was out for a match with Eva Marie, but Eva's top straps break and she can't compete yet again. Becky cuts a very passionate promo about being a fighter. She even squeaks one at one point and challenges anybody in the back that wants to fight to a match. And Alexa Bliss comes out and basically talks about how she's the best thing going on SmackDown and she's going to knock Becky off her perch. So we get this match. It actually started during the commercial break, which is obnoxious. But when we got back from commercial break, Bliss was in control and stomping Becky. And then next thing you know, Eva Marie comes back out. It distracts Becky long enough for Alexa Bliss to clobber her from behind, uses that sort of chokeslam Uranagi, and then hits Twisted Bliss for the win.
Happy birthday, Alexa Bliss. Great win.
After the match, we got an Eva Marie interview, and she's disappointed that she didn't make it out in time for the match, but she'll be ready for her debut next week now.
Great stuff.
And we get another women's segment. Carmella comes out and does her little entrance shtick, which is new, but still very similar to the one she did in NXT with a little less Enzo and Cass flavor since she's not with them anymore. But Natalya runs out and tries to sneak attack her from behind. Carmella catches her, starts the beat down, and next thing you know, the match starts, and Carmella wins.
Yeah, Natalya ousted herself as the biggest idiot in the women's division with this match, so great stuff.
Yeah, and finally we get to our main event, Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan, and this was a solid match. At the end of the day, though, Dolph Ziggler with a super kick to Eric Rowan after having already hit him with a zigzag, so it's not just the super kick that did it, picks up the win.
I appreciate WWE making a conscious effort to build up Dolph Ziggler before SummerSlam, but we still might be 2 years too late.
That being said, we will be all about this show, and we will be talking about this show extensively and in much more detail on TitWoW. Stay tuned.